Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. So on today's video, we're going to be discussing the articles, posts and videos all surrounding the idea of I became a witch for a day, or I became a witch for a month, or a real witch taught me this, and the potential issues and the potential problems that that might have for the magical and the wider pagan communities. Now for clarification here, I am very specifically talking about the articles, posts and videos that are written where an individual attempts to become a witch or to actively undertake magical practice for the purposes of a video, article or post with no actual interest in understanding, learning or appreciating the magical community as a whole. I know that there are a lot of people out there that have had interviews with witches that have sat in on rituals and have filmed it for the benefit of those that are interested in actually learning the practices that go into witchcraft and other magical systems. What I'm talking about specifically are the articles, posts and videos that are primarily created for the purpose of gaining responses, whether that be in views, whether that be in likes, subscriptions, clicks or comments. They are usually created as a way of attaching themselves to the craze of witchcraft, and that's very specifically what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, I do just want to point out very specifically that I'm not talking about any singular person, singular individual or singular organization in this. This is not aimed at being hateful to a single person or situation. Instead, it's mainly just picking apart the issues and the potential flaws that this content might have for the magical community. I'm also not going to be linking you to any of the articles that I read on this, although I'm pretty certain that you can find them easily with a quick Google search. So please don't sue me, I'm only here to discuss the general topic, and I'm not aiming this at anyone in particular. So if you've been part of the magical community for a while, you will likely have seen a massive increase in the popularity of witchcraft since about 2015. Now that in itself is absolutely fantastic. It gives loads of new opportunities for beginners to come into the craft, and it really opens the doors. It's less taboo now to practice witchcraft than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. So in itself, the rise in popularity of witchcraft is an amazing thing. But unfortunately, it doesn't just attract those that might be interested in practicing it. It also attracts the people that are really interested in making a really quick buck off the idea of witchcraft and its popularity. Now, in the modern age, online forums, news websites, posters of any kind of information, whether that be news articles or YouTube, they're always after clicks. They're always after impressions, and the best way to get impressions is to follow trends. Now in itself, that is fine. That actually massively helped my channel when I was first getting started, but it also helps the people that might have less positive intentions for the magical community. And that I feel is kind of where we stand in this particular situation. A lot of places, whether that be big YouTubers, companies, news locations, whatever it might be, they quickly realize that witchcraft is a good way to attract people to their website, to their YouTube channel, whatever it might be. And so they started utilizing that in videos, in posts, in articles, to get a lot of footfall to their site, to their channel, wherever it might be. Now, for a lot of people, including myself, that massively helped to grow their channel in the witchcraft community, and it helped them put information out that was actually really useful and really valid, and that could actually help new beginners that wanted to come into it. But unfortunately, this massive rise in the popularity of witchcraft also helps anyone out there wanting to create an article on witchcraft in other lights, whether that be in a very unsure light or a very opposed light, to create a video or an article on witchcraft and to get a lot of views on that article. Now, of course, I believe that everyone is able to believe in whatever they want, but unfortunately, a lot of these posts, articles and videos that I'm going to be talking about today, not only do they come across as very mocking and scathing, but they also claim to offer some kind of insight on what witchcraft is and what it isn't. And that's where I start getting really concerned. Because as someone that's online quite a lot, it doesn't take long to realize that search engines are controlled by keywords, and they're also controlled by footfall. The bigger your website, the more keywords you use, the higher up the search engine you're going to be. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that are sharing actual information on real magical practice are not going to be found at the top of a search engine. What you will find are these massive companies, these news broadcasters, these YouTubers that have their videos at the top of every single search. That is what beginners are going to click on first, and that is my main worry in all this, because a lot of these articles, posts and videos, they aren't a practitioner talking about the practice. They're an outsider looking in on it with no real idea and no real intention to learn any more about it. So for any of you out there that haven't seen any of these videos, read any of these posts, you are very blessed. I wish I was in your position, because unfortunately, as someone who's quite active within the magical community on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Tumblr, I find these posts quite a lot, and I find that I always have to read it just to kind of see what the outside opinion on witchcraft is, and I'm always exceptionally disappointed. Now, if you haven't seen any of these posts or videos yet, the titles are usually packed full of keywords. They are usually along the lines of, I became a witch for a day, or I learned real witchcraft from a real witch, or something along those lines. It's usually designed to attract people in that are maybe curious about witchcraft but don't know that much about it. And that's one of the main issues with all of this, is that they are kind of designed to attract people in that are curious, and then they give so much wrong information, or they're straight up rude, or I will get into that. So after reading a good couple of these articles and watching a whole bunch of different videos, I wanted to talk about some of the massive issues with this that not enough people are talking about. So at first glance, you might think that all of the articles and videos are different in their own little ways. And yes, they definitely are different. Each article and each video is filmed from a different person's perspective. But I have noticed that there are certain things that appear in almost every single video, every single article, that are really derogatory to the magical and the pagan community as a whole. And they're things that I kind of really want to bring to light, so that if you read one of these articles, if you watch one of these videos in the future, you might see these signs of it being a not so positive video for the pagan and witchcraft community. Now, of course, not every video and not every article has to be positive. But the simple fact is that these videos and these articles are often aimed at the people that are curious about witchcraft, and yet they contain so much misinformation. So one of the biggest things that you'll find in almost all of these articles is their requirement for instant gratification. So a lot of these articles are titled things such as, I became a witch for a, and then a set allot amount of time. Usually it's a day, or it's a week, or it's a month. Or they are posts that are titled things like, I did a spell with a real witch. And then at the end of the video or the article, they usually finish up by saying, see, witchcraft isn't real because nothing happened. And I have to sit there and try not to pull my hair out, because of course nothing happened. You're untrained, you have no idea what you're doing, you have no appreciation for witchcraft and magic in the first place. You're trying to do something with no knowledge of it, no knowledge of how to manifest it, and then you're using that as a reason to prove that it doesn't exist, which is so blatantly wrong, I don't know how much more I can really say about it. Posts like this have been popping up all over the place. You know, posts such as, I tried to communicate with spirits with a pendulum, or I tried a spell with a real witch. See, nothing happened, so magic and spirits and spell work isn't real. When the deep reality of it is, if you want to do spirit communication, you need to learn to do spirit communication. You need to gain their trust. You need to leave out offerings. A spirit isn't just going to come through to you while you're filming for 4 minutes and be like, hey babe, what do you need? Like, no, that's not going to happen. Same with witchcraft and spell work. You can't enter into it for the purpose of a video or for an article or for a Tumblr post. You can't enter into it with no knowledge, no understanding, and no appreciation of it. Cast one spell without knowing how to control your energy, how to release your energy, how to manifest your intention, and expect to see results. And then when you don't get results, you go, hey, all of witchcraft isn't real, when actually the fact is that you aren't trained to do it. And it's something that you'll see a lot in almost all of these posts, all of these videos, is that someone will attempt to do a working, and then when it doesn't work, they'll use it as a reason for why the entire thing isn't real. It would be the equivalent of creating a video saying, I became a professional guitarist for a day, and you're attempting to play one of the hardest songs in the world, and you can't do it because you've only been playing the guitar for a day. And then you throw that guitar away and go, guitar players aren't real because you couldn't play a difficult song on the first day that you picked up a guitar. It's the same thing. Witchcraft is exactly that. It's a craft. It's something that you learn. It's something you develop over time. You can't enter into witchcraft and expect to be able to manifest all of your desires and goals in a day, a week, a month, even a year. It takes a really long time to develop the underlying skills in order to manifest your desired outcome. It's one of the many reasons why people often consider witchcraft to be a lifestyle rather than a hobby, because it's something that it really can take a lifetime in order to master, and in reality no one is ever going to be able to master everything. So expecting to be able to manifest something in a day or a week or a month or over the course of a single video simply isn't realistic, and it's never going to happen. And I don't think it's fair to base your expectations on an entire lifestyle on an experience of 5 days or a day or the length of time it took to film a video, because the simple fact is that you're never going to be able to have the skills in such a small amount of time to manifest what you want to manifest. So the next thing that I see a lot of people insinuating in these posts and videos is the idea that if you practice witchcraft, or if you consider yourself to be any part of the magical community, you are not able to comprehend science. A lot of people will use the idea of crystal healing, and they'll go, well, if you really believe crystals heal, then you must not believe in science. And that simply isn't true. A lot of these posts and videos push the idea that if you believe in witchcraft or if you actively practice it yourself, you must be stupid. You must be an idiot. You must not be able to understand basic science. And it's something I've seen a lot, and it's something that's really, really disheartening, because if anything, the people I've met within the magical community are some of the most intelligent. The idea that people that practice magical traditions or that are witches are somehow less intelligent than everything else simply isn't fair. I do personally take those kind of things really seriously, because that kind of thing would never be said towards a different culture. For whatever reason, people just feel as though they can take shots at the witchcraft community and it's not going to affect anyone, when it does. In reality, I'm sitting over here on my little YouTube channel and I have a bachelor's degree in natural science. I know people personally that are professors. I know people that are teachers. I know people that are vets. I know people that are psychologists. I know some amazingly intelligent people that work in science fields that also study and practice witchcraft. It isn't one or the other. You can be intelligent, you can work in a scientific field and also believe in magic and witchcraft. It isn't mutually exclusive. They can be the same, it's just a different way of looking at the world. It doesn't make anyone less intelligent, and unfortunately a lot of these posts, a lot of these videos do really push that idea that because we believe in these made up things, we are somehow less intelligent. When in reality, witchcraft and magical practices have been done for essentially as long as humans have been attempting to control their environment. It's been documented for tens of thousands of years. It's not something that's a new age thing. This has been going on for years and years and years. And magic was very commonly used alongside medicine for a long, long time. And it's only recently where we somehow seem to segregate the idea of herbalism and crystals and energies away from science. And a lot of people do try to combine that within their own lives, and that's a perfectly valid approach. So the third thing that I found a lot of these articles and posts do is they will use one resource as their only knowledge point for the entire article, the entire video. So a lot of them will go out and they'll purchase one book on witchcraft. They will speak to one person. They will get one person's opinion, whether that be an author or an actual physical person, and they will use that sole information as the basis for everything else. And usually, I'll admit it, the book that they choose is not a good book for beginners. They'll often choose a book that's very popular for Instagram photos and aesthetics, and they will use that as the basis for their magical practice. And the simple fact is that that kind of book is not going to help you. If you are new to magic, if you want to get a grasp of what it actually is, don't go and buy the prettiest book that you can find that's ideal for Instagram. Instead, you're going to want to look for a book that's specifically tailored for beginners, to study the real information, to tell you what magic can and cannot do. You're not going to want to find a book that's full of spells or pretty pictures of ritual altars, because the simple fact is that you're likely not going to get the core information that you actually need from a book like that. And for articles and videos on this topic, that shouldn't be the only resource that is used, but often it is. I always tell people that are getting into witchcraft, regardless of what topic you want to go into in the future, whether you want to look into numerology, whether you want to go into astrology, whether you want to go into candle magic or jar magic or ceremonial magic, it doesn't really matter. The important thing is research, research, research. Cross-reference everything you learn, everything you read, make sure it's correct and accurate, and never jump straight into spellwork and rituals, because you will only be disappointed. Because without a foundation of knowledge, you are never going to be able to manifest your desired intention. And that's exactly what almost all of these people do in these videos and articles. They'll read one book, usually a terrible book when you're getting into witchcraft, because they usually are all spells. And they'll read through it and they'll pick a spell to do, and they'll gather all the items and they'll do the spell, and then they'll go, see, witchcraft isn't real because the spell didn't work. It's like, well, yeah, well, no shit. Of course it didn't work. You don't know anything about it. So you'll often find that they don't use very many resources, and when you're reading an article on witchcraft, it's always good for them to have a lot of resources referenced so that you know they've actually done their research. So the fourth thing that is often very commonly done in these articles and videos is that they focus way too much on the aesthetics. You'll find them dressed up in cloaks and hats. You'll find them using all manner of different tools. You'll find them setting up really decorative altars when they don't yet have any idea what an altar is for. And then they'll often make jokes about the fact that they're setting up an altar when in reality they never had to set one up in the first place. These videos and articles are often very much pushed by the Instagram aesthetic of witchcraft, which usually includes a lot of items, a lot of tools, a lot of altars, when in reality that's not really what witchcraft is. That's what can be included in witchcraft, but that isn't witchcraft. And that's one of the big things that you'll find among a lot of these videos and articles. They focus a lot on what makes a witch look like a witch, rather than what witchcraft actually is. So they'll focus on the crystals, they'll focus on the spells, they'll focus on the pointed hats and the cloaks and the ritual wear and the altars. But at no point will they ever actually talk about the spirit work, the inner work, the meditations, the energy work. They'll never actually talk about the foundation, what witchcraft actually is. Instead, they focus on what makes witchcraft look like witchcraft, which is usually not what witchcraft is at all. And you'll often find it throughout a lot of these articles and videos is that simple fact is that what they are doing is witchcraft aesthetic and never actually witchcraft. So the next thing that you'll often find them doing is they'll often refer to it as a teenage craze, or something very popular among teenagers or young people. They'll often minimize what witchcraft actually is and instead solely refer to it as popular among teenagers or popular on Instagram, or a modern fad is something that I've seen go around quite a lot. They often attempt to minimize what witchcraft actually is. Either that or they don't actually know what witchcraft actually is. So if you're watching any of these and you don't yet know what witchcraft is, it definitely isn't a teenage fad. Witchcraft has been documented for tens of thousands of years in one form or another. A lot of the time it doesn't even have a name. But essentially, for as long as humans have been attempting to control their environment, whether that be through agriculture or whether that be through religion, you'll often find that magical practices have been a part of it. It's not something that's solely open to teenagers. You will find people of any age group practicing witchcraft or magical works within their own lives and for other people that they might know. It's definitely not something modern, and it's definitely not something only young people and teenagers can practice. So don't let these articles and videos fool you. That's just what they keep referring to it as, and I'm never quite sure whether they're doing it purposefully or whether they simply don't understand that witchcraft has a much wider audience and a much longer standing than they believe. So the next one is one that really frustrates me, mainly because I'm an owner of an occult business myself. And that is that a lot of these articles and a lot of these videos, they will go into an occult shop, and often they will laugh at the candles, or they'll joke about the price, or they'll make fun of the aesthetics, and they are actively having a joke about things that are very significant. And in a lot of cases, it's not really an issue. You know, I don't mind someone coming up to my stall and looking at the lover's candle, which is like two naked people, and having a joke about, you know, oh, I wish I looked like that. You know, I get that comment quite a lot. Like, that kind of thing is fine. But the issue comes when in these articles and videos, they are actively making fun of religious symbols, or they are joking about a very important ritual item or a figural candle or something of great significance, and they are actively making a joke out of it, usually while the owner of the business is right there. And it's something that it hits home for me because I go to events, I sell witchcraft stuff, I meet people, I talk to people, and I've had this happen to me. But it must be so much worse if it's a video and you're being filmed and you just have to pretend like everything is fine. And it's the one glaring thing that I find when you go into these videos and when you're reading these articles, is that it's quite clear that the people that are in it, that are writing it or that are doing the video, don't actually have any respect for the practice that they're entering into at all. You'll often find them joking about the very sexualized candles that might be on offer, or they're actively laughing or complaining about the price, when in reality those things are very significant to different cultures, different traditions, different religions. It costs money. That's the thing, these items cost money. You don't need these items in order to practice witchcraft. So once again, it focuses largely on the aesthetics and the items. But equally, if you are part of that tradition, you can see value in that item. And it infuriates me when they go into these shops and they go, how much is that? That's really expensive. It's like, yeah, it's expensive. And you see no value in it because you're not looking at it from a witchcraft perspective. But for an actual practitioner, that is sacred, that has meaning. And they laugh and they joke a lot. And it just kind of makes it glaringly obvious to me that they actually have no real comprehension of just how symbolic some of these things actually are. And I don't know, for someone that has such a love of history and folklore and tradition, it hits a nerve. It hits a real nerve for me. Another thing you'll often find when you're looking at these articles or these videos or posts is that they don't actually understand the difference between witchcraft and Wicca. Now, I know that in the 90s, a lot of people were using the terms witchcraft and Wicca interchangeably, but now people are much more aware of the differences between witchcraft, the practice, and Wicca, the religion. And a lot of the times in these articles and in these videos, they'll use the terms interchangeably. And if anything, that only goes to confuse the audience that they're aiming it towards. If you're aiming a video with keywords and everything to be pushed towards an audience of people that are curious about witchcraft, and their first interaction with the idea of it has someone saying Wicca and witchcraft and using the terms interchangeably, that's really hard to separate again once someone has learned it. And so I think if you're going to be talking about witchcraft in a video, you definitely need to be aware that there are differences. The beliefs that go into the two are very different. One is a religion, the other is a practice without any attached religion, and they are very significantly different. So I just wish that when they were doing their research for these videos, these articles, they would actually do enough research to realize that the two are actually separate. That would be really nice, because then it makes our lives a lot easier. You know, a lot of the time I'll get beginners coming to me that maybe haven't done much research, they've watched a video or two and that's about it. They'll come to me and they'll say, hey, I'm interested in getting into Wicca, but I don't believe in deities. And I'm like, well, well, what do you think Wicca is? And they'll go, oh, it's just witchcraft. No, it's not just witchcraft. They're actually very different. So you don't have to believe in deities if you don't want to, because witchcraft doesn't require deities. And then the people among the community, among the Facebook groups, among the YouTube channels, the Tumblr pages, the Twitter pages, the Reddit forums, they're the people that end up having to kind of sort out the mess as a result of it. Because some of these videos, some of these articles have millions and millions of views that my channel is never going to get. And it's a lot of misinformation to be sending out to millions of people. And it's a lot of mess to sort out if just a few of them chose to go on to practice witchcraft in the future. There's a lot of misinformation there that needs to be sorted out. So this is the one that probably annoys me the most in all of this, and it's the thing that makes me question why they even bothered to do these articles, do these videos in the first place. And that is when they actively mock and actively joke about practitioners, about witches, while they're still talking to them or after they finish talking to them. You'll see it in a lot of these videos, and a lot of the articles will kind of sort of do this, but obviously in a written format, not a video format, where they will interact with a practitioner, whether that be in an interview form or whether that be in a ceremony or just a general chit chat. And it's especially commonly done in videos on witchcraft, and that is that when the person is talking to them, they'll turn to the camera and they'll give a look, and then they'll turn back to the practitioner, and it's how rude do you have to be? You've invited them for an interview, or you've gone into their space, or they've invited you to come to a ritual, and while they're telling you things that are important to them and to their space, you turn to the camera and you go, and then you turn back to them. No, that's so rude. How incredibly rude is that? Or even worse, they'll be laughing, verbally, audibly laughing while the person is telling them something significant. And I don't know if maybe I'm just overly cautious around people. Maybe it's because I'm British. But for me anyway, if I invited someone into that space, or if I asked if I could have an interview with someone, I wouldn't be laughing at them whilst I was doing it. And they also do it afterwards. They'll often come away from a ritual, or they'll come away from an interview, and they'll be laughing and joking about the things the person said, as though that person isn't going to read the article or watch the video. I don't get it. For me anyway, I don't like insulting anyone. And that's why I'm always probably overly cautious in my videos, but I don't like insulting anyone. And if you've asked them to be part of that video and they've had to sign waivers in order to be part of that video, don't you think they're going to watch it? Or if you've signed stuff in order for their words to appear in your article, don't you think they're going to read it? I couldn't imagine being so rude as to invite someone into a space, or for me to be invited into someone else's space, especially a sacred ritual or a spell work, and to then write mocking, joking things about them afterwards. And this is the bit that really says the most about why these are created. They're not really created to spread awareness for witchcraft. They're not created as an educational tool. It appears in a lot of cases that they are largely created solely to use the keywords to attract people in. And because of that, they will put these articles to people, and they'll put these video ideas to people, or they'll come up with them themselves, and they'll go into it with no intention of actually taking it seriously, but they want the views, or they want the footfall to the website. And so they'll create it anyway, despite having no actual appreciation for any of it. And that kind of goes into the next one, is that you often see people using tools, using items, undertaking workings with no knowledge of actually what they're doing. And then when it doesn't work, they'll make a mockery of it, they'll joke about the people that are actually doing it in real life, or they'll simply say that it's proof that none of this is real. So I've seen videos of people attempting to communicate with spirits through pendulums or through spirit boards, but they've actually had no respect for any spirit whatsoever. They've never created a safe space. They never introduced themselves to a spirit. They've never attempted to come into it from a realistic standpoint. Instead, they sit down and they attempt to communicate with a spirit. And when a spirit doesn't willingly come through, because why the hell would it, they then turn around and say, you know, see, this isn't real. Spirits aren't real, ghosts aren't real, this doesn't work. When in reality, would you come up to a group of strangers that you didn't know if they were like, come here, I want to talk to you right now. You had better come here. I'm leaving in 30 seconds. If you don't come here right now, then I know that you're not fake and you're a horrible person. Like, why would I then choose to walk over to a group of people I don't know if they're throwing demands at me to come here and talk to them right now? I'm not going to do it. Spirits aren't stupid. They have their own, like, standards. Why would they go up to talk to you if you are being rude to them? And if you have no respect for them, they're not going to do it. So don't expect them to do it. It's the same as when people attempt to use tarot cards. I see this quite a lot in videos, is that they will do a tarot card draw and they have no real idea of how to read the cards. So they'll kind of vaguely read out of the book and not get any meaning out of it. And then they'll say that people are just creating their own significance. When in reality, tarot card reading takes time. It takes the ability to not only read each individual card, but the ability to then connect all of the cards together and to take insight from the imagery and the card itself and relate it to a person's life. You're not going to learn that by getting it straight out of the box, not cleansing it, and then just doing a draw and expecting to magically be able to do a tarot card reading. Like, some people are very naturally gifted when it comes to tarot cards. But if you're coming from it from the perspective of this is fake, this isn't going to work, and then you attempt to do it and you can't do it, you can't then proclaim that this is fake, it doesn't work, because you have no real experience with it. Same goes spell work and rituals, as I mentioned earlier. A lot of these will attempt to do a spell or a ritual, or they'll have a spell given to them in the form of a candle or a charm or a bag or something. And then when it doesn't do anything, they'll turn around and go, see, this is all baloney, it doesn't work. When in reality, of course it doesn't work. You're not doing anything. A candle is a candle unless you put the energy and intention into it. A bag is just a bag unless you put the energy and intention into it. If you don't know what you're doing, an object is just an object. They are tools. They're nothing more than just items. Candle is not going to do anything unless you tell it what to do and you charge it with your energy. And if you don't know how to do that, then of course you're not going to see results. And I definitely don't think it's right for them to say, this entire tradition is nonsense because it didn't work for me in one day. And that's what a lot of them do. And I think it's really negative on the community as a whole for them to be pushing that idea out there, because it then leaves the beginners feeling as though, yeah, maybe this doesn't work, when the reality of it is that magic takes time. Spells don't happen instantly. They can take weeks, months, years to manifest alongside mundane work. So you can't click your fingers and a Mercedes appears on your front drive. It's not going to happen. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people think when they're doing these videos and articles. And that's what a lot of beginners think as well. And it's kind of only fueled by these articles and by these posts. So it can really hinder the progress of beginners, where maybe they should be taking a step back and focusing more on studying. Instead, they are given this idea that you can just go straight into a spell and have it manifest. And the simple fact is that you can't. So let's have a look at the reality of all of this. That's a lot of random stuff that appears in a lot of different articles, videos, posts, forums, whatever it might be. But what's the reality of these posts and articles for the actual magical practitioners, for the real world people that actually do it? Well, first, it's not only exceptionally derogatory to a lot of us. In many cases, they often not only insult intelligence, but also mock our entire practice. Despite witchcraft and magical practices being practiced in almost every society around the world, except a very small number, It's mocked in these articles and videos, which is exceptionally negative on the community as a whole, because these articles, these videos are often pushed by algorithms a lot more than anything else. So you'll often see these appearing at the top of search engines, you'll see these appearing at the top of YouTube searches, and they push a very negative view on the pagan and witchcraft community that it really doesn't deserve, because a lot of the stuff in these posts and articles is inaccurate for what witchcraft and magic actually is. So the second thing is that if these articles, if these videos were made on a different practice or a different religion than those found within paganism, I don't think they'd ever be published at all, and it sets a very harsh double standard on the people that publish these. You know, the simple fact is that it's probably very unlikely that they would do a video or they would do an article which was, we learned Christianity from a pastor. They then asked to do an interview with a pastor, went into a church, mocked the entire church and the way it looked. They then have an interview with the pastor where he was talking about really important information about the Christian religion, and they spend the entire time laughing and joking, turning to the camera, giving mocking faces, or writing kind of joking responses after the interview is done, and then come away from it all going, well, God didn't talk to me, it's all fake. The simple fact is that they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't probably be allowed to do it because Christianity is such a mainstream religion. And the fact is that because witchcraft isn't so well looked upon by the media, they feel that it's fine to fuel the fire. And in reality, we've been trying to put out the fire for hundreds of years. We've been trying to limit the negative view on witchcraft for as long as the media has existed. It's always been something, whether it was devil worship, whether it was sacrificing animals and children and all of this random horrible stuff. And now we are in this culture where people feel as though it's okay to mock it. And that's really one of the biggest issues with all of this, is that they are top search engine results. And yet they spend a lot of the video mocking, derailing, diminishing the practitioners of it and the practice itself, because it's something that not that many people do. Yeah, it's very, very popular, but you'll find a lot of the people that are interested in it don't actually go on to practice it. You know, there's a lot of witchy aesthetic going around on social media now, and guaranteed 90% of the people that dress like a witch don't actually practice witchcraft. And in 10 years, the fad will have disappeared again, and it's likely that a lot of those people won't still be practicing. But they are gaining profit and they are gaining footfall from the popularity of it, whilst equally diminishing the practice of it. And I don't believe that you should have it both ways. You can't gain something from a community and then diminish the community at the same time. It's such a backhanded way of doing things. The fact is that a lot of these people going into it don't care about the practice. They will never actually look twice at that witchcraft book that they bought ever again. They'll never acknowledge its existence. They won't even likely notice the negative impact that that might have on the community as a whole. But I've noticed on this channel, I've noticed for years now, that every time one of these big companies makes a post on it, or every time a YouTube channel makes a post about, I became a witch for a day, or I became a witch for a week, or I became a witch for a month, or I did a witchcraft spell, here's my views on it, the number of messages I get from beginners skyrockets. And a lot of them are drawn in and then they are spat out with all of this misleading information, and it really is such a shame. So I know that this video has been crazy long, and I'm really sorry about that. And I didn't want to make this video all negative, because it definitely isn't all negative. The fact that these companies, these YouTube channels, whatever it might be, feel the need to post about witchcraft means that it's definitely gaining a footfall in normal society. It's becoming more popular, it's becoming more mainstream, it's becoming less taboo, and that's always an amazing thing. But we need to find ways to raise the community up. And unfortunately, a lot of these videos, a lot of these articles, a lot of these posts only serve to knock the community down. So if you are a beginner and you see these posts, don't feel as though everything that's in them is factual, because I can guarantee it definitely won't be. If you are going to read them and you are going to watch them as a beginner who's never had any experience within the magical community and the craft in general, take them with a grain of salt as a source of entertainment. Don't take it as a factual journey that you might learn significant amounts from, because the likelihood is that you're not going to. Now, I do definitely think that these websites, these pages, these YouTube channels, posting about witchcraft does have a positive spin for the community, as it does attract people in. Sometimes I just wish that they took a different approach on it all, because I think sometimes they do come at the entire topic from a very joking stance, where they know it isn't going to work for them, so they don't even try to understand it. And I do wish that maybe people came into it more with an open mind than what they actually do. So I just wanted to get this out there. It's something that's been on my mind for a couple of days, and honestly I think my family and Paul are getting really fed up with me talking about it. So I decided to tell you guys. I don't know how long this video is going to be up for, because I'm always really paranoid about posting negative content, but hopefully anyone that sees this video might find it a little bit eye-opening, and maybe they will acknowledge these posts when they come out and kind of see these kind of trends that are happening in them that are really kind of toxic for the magical community. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a like. It really, really means so much to me. If you do have any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, or just want to chit chat with the community, down in the comment section, feel free to post a comment. And if you do enjoy the magical content on this channel or in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I do post new magical content every Wednesday and every Saturday at 6 p.m. and usually the content is a lot more educational than this one has been. So anyway, I hope you guys have a marvelous magical day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!